Hey, I'm Red. Today we're gonna go over bell melodies, more specifically dreamy trap bell melodies like XO True Life by Lil Uzi Vert. I have broken down the simple secret behind making a melody like this one, and today I'll show you how you can easily start applying the techniques used in this video to make better beats. With that said, let's begin. Okay, the first thing I want to show you before you decide whether you want my advice on this is the final melody I created using the simple steps shown later in this video. If you like the melody, then I got a bunch of tips for you so you can start making your own by following the steps right away. And if not, well, I have a bunch of other melody breakdowns in my channel for you. With that said, here's the final melody. XO True Life's melody has two main elements, and those are bottom melody and top bell melody. So let's start with the bottom melody. This beat was made at 155 ppm in the B minor scale, by the way. Step 1. Which chords to use? This is XO's bottom melody progression. This is simply a bass note melody designed to complement the top melody. Right off the bat, we can assume that there are probably 4 chords, one on every bar. Since this is our bottom note, let's assume this is the root note. Now, according to our triad rule, the next note, our third, should be either 3 or 4 steps above this one. And if we count 1, 2, 3, we see that there are 4 steps between the root and this one, which makes this a major chord. Now the fifth should be 3 steps above it, so 1, 2, and it's not there. It should be here, but whatever, this can still be a major chord with only these 2 notes. But there is still one above these 2 notes. I think this might be our 7th. Let's count. If the 5th was supposed to be here, then 1, 2, 3, and this is our 7th. So this part of the melody is using the notes of a G minor 7th chord, but it's simply not using the 5th, which would go here. And if we apply that rule to the other chords, we can see that these are all simple 7th chords, but played 1 ascending note every beat. So that's our first step right there. Step 1. Choose 4 7th chords, play 1 ascending note every beat. Now for the real melody, the top bell melody. Now, we know which chords we're using in the bottom melody, so let's check if those still fit in these notes. Well, they do, so that means both the bottom and the top melody use the same notes, just played differently. Now that we know the chords, let's move on to step 2, 3, and 4, where to play the notes. Looking back at XO's top melody, it's clear that this melody is played in groups of 3. We can see an ascending group of 3 at the beginning of every bar, and a descending group of 3 at the end. We don't really see notes going all over the place like we usually would on a trap beat. These notes follow a very simple progression, so that's our step 2 and 3. 2. Play notes in groups of 3 and ascending notes in the beginning and descending in the end. Also, I want to point out that contrary to most trap beats that usually go in a descending chord progression, this melody is going up. That's what gives this melody such an interesting vibe. It makes it sound more dreamy rather than dark and sad. That is actually really important, so let's write that down. Step 4, chord progression should go up. Okay, those are all the steps. Now let's build our own melody using them. First, let's choose some chords. For that, we'll be using the D sharp minor scale. So let's start by putting our roots. In this case, I choose these 4 notes. Now let's add the thirds. So to keep everything in key, we can simply skip 1 tonic note and then add the third, like this. Skip 1, add the third, skip 1, add the third, and so on. For the fifths, do the same once again, and do the exact same process once again for the sevenths. That way we know all the notes we're going to need. Now to finish step 1, we need to arrange this note so that we have an ascending progression that plays 1 note every bar. So let's start with the roots, and now add the thirds. And for this last one, I'm going to use the 5th instead of the 3rd so that the whole chord progression feels like it's going up. That step is very important, don't forget it. And now for the 3rd note, I'll simply add just whatever sounds good to my ear. For the sound selection, I'm going to use this bell one shot and add this effect to it. Blood overdrive to make it a little dirtier, and some chorus to make it bigger. This is what that sounds like. Now we can move on to the top melody. We already know which chords we're going to use, and also we know that our progression should ascend in the first part and descend in the second. So start down, then go up. In this case I'm going up to the 7th, and then down. In this case down to the 5th. I'm going to do the same for the second chord, same for the third, and the last one I'll use the 5th instead of the 7th, and the 3rd instead of the 5th. I'll also bring this note up a bit to make the pattern sound less predictable. Now that we have that, I'm going to add these extra notes and bring the velocity down. This will make the melody sound a little more interesting while not taking attention away from the main groups of 3, which are still these notes. That's about it for the main part of our melody. Now we need those perk sounds that the intro of EXO Tour Live has. For that, I'm going to use these 2 samples and add a bit of reverb and delay and play them like this. Lastly, for the intro, we need some 808s. For that, simply add the spins 808 and copy the lowest notes of our chords and lay them out like this. And now for the finishing touches, let's add these 5 things. A tape stop reversed intro, pads for the intro, some trap drums, and lastly, an automated halftime effect in the intro. Like this, our intro will have 2 phases. First, the halftime one without the 808s and perks, and the second is the original melody with 808s and perks. And done! That's how to make a dreamy trap melody like EXO Tour Live by Lil Uzi Vert. Here are our 4 steps once again in case you want to screenshot this to use it later. Before I play the final beat, if you want to download the melody loop I made in this video, there's a free download link in the description. I make 2 beat breakdowns a week, so if you want more of this, subscribe, and as always, see ya.